What if the pill you take every morning, the one you believe is keeping you healthy, is quietly robbing you of your strength, your balance, and even your independence? It doesn't happen all at once. It starts subtle. A small stumble on the stairs, a slight hesitation before stepping off a curb. That tiny, uncomfortable feeling like your legs just aren't responding the way they used to, and you tell yourself it's just aging, it's normal. But what if it's not? What if the real reason you feel weaker, more unsteady, isn't your age, but something hidden, something sitting quietly inside your daily routine, disguised as health? Because right now, millions of people just like you, are unknowingly making the same well-intentioned mistake. And it's not their fault. You've been told for years that more vitamins mean more protection, more antioxidants mean better health. But here's the truth: no one ever told you that too much of certain nutrients can quietly sabotage the very systems that keep you upright, mobile, and strong. This is not about fear. This is about clarity. It's about understanding the signals your body has been trying to send, but no one showed you how to listen. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. Stay with me, because this might just change how you think about strength forever. George used to think he was doing everything right. 68 years old, retired, living in Austin, Texas, a man who cared about his health more than most. His mornings were structured: a brisk walk around the neighborhood, a perfectly balanced breakfast, followed by his daily lineup of supplements. Vitamin E, Vitamin A, a high-dose multivitamin designed for longevity. Fish oil, joint support, the works. He did it all because that's what everyone said aging well looked like. But something wasn't adding up. It started with small things: a missed step on the front porch, that strange, half-second delay when standing up from the couch, moments he brushed off as getting older. Then one morning, George noticed it wasn't just weakness, it was hesitation. His legs felt foreign. Like the messages from his brain were traveling, slower, fuzzier. He gripped the countertop harder than usual, telling himself maybe he just didn't sleep well. But deep down, something felt off. He wasn't alone. Across the world, people just like George, disciplined, health-conscious, doing everything the books and doctors told them, were quietly facing the same question. Why, despite doing everything right? Do my legs feel weaker, less stable, more unreliable? Was it aging? Was it inevitable? Or was it something else? Because the truth is, muscle loss after 60 isn't just about aging. It's not just about sitting too much or moving too little. It's not even about losing motivation. There's a silent force, hidden in plain sight, quietly draining the strength from the very foundation of your independence, your legs. And what's shocking is that this force doesn't come from laziness or poor choices. It often comes from a place of good intentions, from the very habits designed to protect your health. For years, we've been told a simple message: more antioxidants, more vitamins, more protection. But the human body doesn't work like that. It never has. Inside every movement, every step, every attempt to rise from a chair or catch yourself from falling, there's a delicate symphony happening between your brain, your nervous system, and your muscles. A symphony that depends on signals, tiny electrical impulses, chemical messengers. And yes, even small amounts of controlled, oxidative stress. But when the system gets flooded, overloaded, drowned in nutrients that were meant to help, but now exceed what the body can actually use, that symphony falls out of tune. The signals grow weaker. The muscles stop responding the way they should. The brain starts whispering instead of shouting. And slowly but surely, your legs, the pillars that carry your life, start to falter. It's not about scaring you, it's about waking you up to something no one told you, something most doctors never learned. Something the supplement industry doesn't talk about. George didn't know this, not until the day he tripped, not badly, but enough. Enough to sit down, look at the bottles lined up on his kitchen counter, and ask himself, what if the very thing I'm doing to protect my body is quietly taking my strength away? That question is exactly where this story begins. Linda never considered herself reckless with her health. Quite the opposite. At 70, living in Vancouver, she was the person friends went to for advice on wellness. Her kitchen cabinet was neatly lined with bottles promising vitality, anti-aging, and longevity. Vitamin E 400 IU daily. A multivitamin with an extra 5,000 IU of vitamin A fish oil. calcium, zinc, curcumin. She was diligent, meticulous, proud even of how seriously she took her health. She had read the blogs, watched the YouTube videos, followed every health podcast that preached one consistent message that antioxidants were the secret weapon against aging. But here's the cruel twist. What Linda didn't know, what millions still don't realize, is that the very thing promoted as protection can quietly become the barrier to strength, mobility, and independence. It began subtly. A missed step while gardening, that odd feeling of her left leg not catching her weight fast enough. Then a near stumble while getting off a bus, forcing her to grip the handrail tighter than usual, her reaction, same as most. It's just aging, she told herself. It's normal at this point. But inside, doubt started whispering. Why, if I'm doing everything right, does it feel like my body's not keeping up? She wasn't sitting around all day. She walked every morning, attended weekly yoga, balanced her diet, and yet her legs felt different, less certain, less responsive. When Linda finally visited a physiotherapist, the question wasn't about her joints or her exercise routine. It was this: what supplements are you taking? That question hit harder than expected. No one, not one doctor in all those years, had ever asked her that. But now, suddenly, the pieces were falling into place. Because here's the truth. Most people over 60 are unknowingly caught in a trap built on a belief that more is better, that the more antioxidants you take, the healthier you'll be. That piling on high doses of vitamin E, vitamin A, and other fat-soluble nutrients will fight aging, fight disease, and keep you strong. But the human body is not a machine that works better by flooding it with more. It's a finely tuned ecosystem. Nutrients don't exist in isolation. They interact with your hormones, your mitochondria, your nervous system, and even the electrical signals that control how your muscles fire. And that means, when the balance tips too far, when certain vitamins exceed what your body actually needs, something starts to break. Not in a dramatic, sudden collapse. No, it happens quietly, gradually. So subtly that most people, just like Linda, don't even connect the dots. A little more sluggish getting out of bed. A tiny delay when stepping onto an uneven sidewalk. That strange, hard-to-describe feeling like your legs aren't fully yours anymore. And because no one talks about it, because the health industry rarely warns you, millions accept this as just getting older. But what if that's not the truth? What if the real reason you feel unstable or weaker isn't inevitable decline, but a correctable mistake, a mistake rooted in one powerful but dangerous belief: that more is always better. Except when it's not. That's the common mistake, the silent mistake, the well-intentioned but harmful mistake millions are making right now. And it's time to unpack why. Michael was the kind of person who never missed a workout. 65 years old, living in Manchester, still strong, still determined. Twice a week, he lifted weights at his local community center. 3 times a week, long brisk walks along the canal. His doctor always praised his commitment, his discipline, his dedication. But despite the effort, something felt off. Michael noticed that the progress he expected, the strength gains, the improved stability, just weren't happening. His legs felt heavy, his reaction time seemed dulled, and no matter how many reps he pushed through, it felt like his muscles weren't responding. At first, he blamed age, then maybe sleep or stress or nutrition, but deep down a quiet frustration brewed. Why wasn't his body adapting? Why, after doing everything right, did every workout feel harder, not easier? The answer was hiding in plain sight. It starts with understanding one simple truth about the human body, especially after 60. Strength isn't just about muscles. It's about communication. Your muscles are listeners, responders. They only get stronger when your brain sends a very clear signal, and that signal is stress. Not the bad kind of stress, not chronic, overwhelming emotional stress, but biological stress. The kind that happens when you lift a weight, when you climb stairs, when you balance on one foot. It's called oxidative stress. Tiny bursts of metabolic sparks, scientifically known as reactive oxygen species. ROS. And here's the twist most people never learn. Those sparks are not the enemy, they are the signal. When your muscles experience microscopic stress, when fibers are pushed, challenged, stretched, those tiny sparks fire. And that fire tells your body grow stronger. Repair, adapt, get better. It's like lighting a match in the dark. The flame signals it's time to build. But here's the problem: when you flood your body with high-dose antioxidants, like megadoses of vitamin E or vitamin C, you drown the spark. You pour water on the match before the flame ever catches. Your body looks around, doesn't sense any stress, and says, no need to adapt, no need to grow. And that, right there, is how progress quietly grinds to a halt. For Michael, this was a revelation. He realized that for years, he had been unknowingly silencing the very signal his muscles needed to change. His high-dose antioxidant routine, meant to protect him, was muting the message. And here's the kicker. After 60, your muscles already become less sensitive to growth signals. Scientists call it anabolic resistance. It means the same workout that grows muscle in a 30-year-old delivers a weaker signal in someone over 60. So what happens if, on top of that natural resistance, you're suppressing the signal even further with excessive antioxidants? Exactly what Michael experienced. The body stops listening, the legs grow weaker. The nervous system slows, balance falters, reaction time dulls, not because you're lazy, not because you're not trying, but because the cellular conversation is getting lost. It's like trying to conduct an orchestra with half the instruments muted. Movement, balance, strength all begin with signal clarity. Without it, the system drifts. Muscles stop adapting. Neural circuits go quiet. The body assumes nothing needs to change, and the irony. Most people doing this are the disciplined ones, the proactive, the people who care deeply about their health, the very people who deserve better answers. So the question becomes clear. If too much antioxidant intake blunts the growth signal, then what's the right balance? What does the body actually need to build strength after 60? It starts with seeing oxidative stress not as the enemy, but as your body's built-in language for adaptation. The right stress at the right time is not something to fear. It's something to work with. Robert never thought something as simple as a vitamin could become a roadblock to his strength. 72 years old, living in Melbourne, Robert was a retired engineer, a problem solver by nature. He approached his health the same way he approached his career: methodical, precise, intentional. For years, he took 400 IU of vitamin E every single day, sometimes more. Because everything he read, every headline, every health article said the same thing. Vitamin E protects your cells, fights aging, prevents damage. It felt like a no-brainer. But what no one explained, what the glossy supplement labels never mentioned, is that vitamin E isn't just a passive protector. At high doses, it can become an uninvited guest, one that overstays, interferes, and quietly undermines the very systems designed to keep you strong. Robert noticed the first shift after a few months. His morning walks felt heavier. His legs, not weak exactly, but sluggish, less reactive, less sure. It wasn't dramatic, not at first. A small stumble on gravel, that awkward pause before stepping off a curb. The kind of moments you write off until they start stacking. Then one day, after nearly slipping on a wet supermarket floor, Robert finally stopped and asked, "Why do I feel like this?" The answer started with understanding what vitamin E actually does inside the body. Vitamin E is an antioxidant. Its job, in moderation, is to protect your cells from excessive oxidative stress. That's good, necessary even. But when consumed in high doses, especially the 400 to 1,000 IU range found in many supplements marketed toward aging, something unintended happens. Vitamin E doesn't just mop up excess oxidative stress. It suppresses the small, purposeful, oxidative signals your muscles and nervous system rely on to adapt, to strengthen, to stay sharp. A groundbreaking study in the Journal of Physiology revealed this clearly. Participants who took high-dose vitamin E and vitamin C during strength training saw significantly smaller gains in muscle mass and strength compared to those who didn't. Why? Because those antioxidants blunted oxidative signaling, the very process that tells your body, this muscle is stressed. It's time to repair. It's time to grow. Without that signal, the adaptation switch stays off. It's like trying to strengthen a bridge, but silencing the sensors that tell the engineers where the weak spots are. No signal, no repair. no repair, no strength. And this isn't just about muscle. Vitamin E in excess interferes with nerve conduction. It slows the mitochondria inside your neurons, which means slower reaction times, dulled coordination, and a higher risk of imbalance or falls. Even more concerning, studies from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition show that excessive vitamin E intake is linked to increased risk of hemorrhagic stroke in older adults, particularly when paired with other fat-soluble vitamins like A and K. Because vitamin E doesn't work alone, it competes, it interacts. Specifically, it can interfere with vitamin K pathways, which are crucial for blood clotting, calcium regulation, and even muscle contractility. Robert didn't know this until his doctor, one of the rare ones who asked about supplements, reviewed his blood work, looked him in the eye, and said, "You might want to reconsider that vitamin E." The light bulb moment was instant. It explained everything: the sluggishness, the hesitation, the sense that his legs were just a step behind. Robert cut his dose. Switched from a high-dose synthetic vitamin E to a food-based, low-dose formula, under 100 IU within weeks. He noticed something surprising. His legs felt lighter, his steps more certain. The invisible fog, that strange delay between intention and movement, began to lift. This isn't magic. This is simply how biology works when the signal is allowed to function. The takeaway: vitamin E is not the villain. It's not harmful in itself, but in excess, especially the levels commonly marketed as anti-aging miracles, it shifts from helpful to harmful. Your muscles, your nerves, your balance depend on stress. The right kind in the right amount. Mute that signal and the entire system begins to fade. But when you restore it, when you give your body the chance to listen, the change is real and it's powerful. Robert learned that the hard way. Now, so don't you have to. Susan never imagined that something as simple as a vitamin could quietly undermine the very structure keeping her upright. 66 years old, living in Seattle, Susan was active, independent, the kind of woman who prided herself on taking care of her health. Her shelves were lined with supplements, multivitamins, fish oil, joint support, and a daily capsule of cod liver oil. Because for years, she believed what so many of us are told, that vitamin A is essential, vital for vision, immune health, skin aging gracefully. And it is in the right amount. But what Susan and millions like her didn't know is that vitamin A, when consumed in excess, has a hidden dark side. It began with something so small she barely noticed: an occasional misstep while walking her dog, a strange feeling of hesitation when stepping off a curb, a moment of imbalance in the kitchen that made her grab the counter just a second faster than expected. She brushed it off. "I'm just tired. It's a busy day." But then one afternoon, walking through her neighborhood, Susan tripped, not badly, but hard enough to fall, landing awkwardly on her wrist, fracturing it. Sitting there on the sidewalk, waiting for help, she asked herself, "How did this happen? I didn't trip over anything." At the hospital, her x-rays showed more than a broken wrist. They showed thinning bones, reduced bone density. A surprise because her calcium, her vitamin D were perfectly fine. It didn't make sense. Until a nutritionist reviewed her supplement list and quietly said, "Susan, your vitamin A levels are dangerously high." And that was the turning point. Here's what most people don't know. Vitamin A, especially in the form of retinol or retinol palmitate, the kind found in cod liver oil, in fortified cereals, in most multivitamins, can accumulate in the body. Unlike water-soluble vitamins, excess vitamin A doesn't flush out. It stores in your liver, in your fat, in your bones. And when the levels climb too high, it starts to quietly interfere with the very systems designed to keep you strong. Specifically, it disrupts the cells responsible for bone growth. High vitamin A suppresses osteoblasts, the builders of bone, and stimulates osteoclasts, the cells that break bone down. The result: weaker bones, thinner bones. A greater risk of fractures, even from simple, everyday movements. But it doesn't stop there. Vitamin A overload also interferes with your nervous system. It disrupts the way your muscles contract. Why? Because vitamin A competes with vitamin D at receptor sites. It blocks proper calcium regulation. And when calcium signaling is off, The fast-twitch muscle fibers responsible for balance, quick reactions, and stability start to misfire. This means slower reaction times, reduced muscle coordination, a feeling of unsteadiness that creeps in almost unnoticed until it doesn't. A major study from the New England Journal of Medicine revealed a shocking truth. Older adults with high serum levels of retinol had a significantly higher risk of hip fractures, even when their vitamin D and calcium levels were normal. The worst part, most of them had no idea, because this overload doesn't come from some extreme, reckless behavior. It comes from doing what we were told was healthy, taking a daily multivitamin plus cod liver oil, plus eating fortified foods, plus a diet with eggs, cheese, liver, or dairy. It adds up, quietly, invisibly. And the result is a nervous system that doesn't fire as cleanly, legs that don't react as quickly, bones that no longer support you the way they should. Susan realized this, sitting in her living room, cast on her wrist, reflecting on that fall. It wasn't just bad luck. It wasn't just age. It was a hidden imbalance, a biochemical tug-of-war happening inside her body. And when she adjusted, when she removed the high-dose vitamin A, when she switched to a beta-carotene-based formula, something started to change. Her steps felt surer, her balance more predictable. That strange hesitation softened, faded, because here's the truth. Vitamin A is essential, but more is not better. The body is not a bucket you fill. It's a symphony you tune, and when the instruments are balanced, the performance changes everything. James had always been sharp. 69 years old, living in Dublin, a retired architect with a mind that thrived on solving puzzles, on precision, on things making sense. But lately, something felt off. It wasn't his memory. It wasn't his focus. It was his body's response. A strange, quiet lag, noticing that half-second delay when standing up, feeling like his legs weren't getting the message fast enough, turning to look behind him and realizing his feet were a moment slower than his eyes. At first, James blamed it on getting older, or maybe not stretching enough. Maybe it was just stiffness, but that didn't explain everything, because when he sat quietly one evening, reflecting, he realized something unsettling. It wasn't just my legs, he said. It was like my brain wasn't getting the memo anymore. That's when the real truth began to unfold, because strength isn't just about muscle. Balance isn't just about joints. Stability isn't just about bone. It's about your nervous system, the hidden command center that most people, most doctors, never talk about when it comes to aging. Here, what happens behind the scenes. Every time you move, your brain sends a signal. That signal travels down your spinal cord through miles of nerve fibers, branching into motor neurons before reaching your muscles. It's electricity, chemical messengers. A finely tuned symphony of conduction, timing, coordination. When everything works, it's seamless. You think, move, step a turn, catch yourself, without ever thinking about it. But when something disrupts that signal, even by a fraction of a second, the whole system wobbles. That's what was happening to James. And the surprising culprit wasn't aging alone. It was the silent accumulation of certain nutrients, fat-soluble vitamins like A and E, interfering with the very wiring that kept him steady. Here's how it works. Your nervous system is insulated, literally. Nerves are wrapped in a protective layer called myelin. It's like the rubber coating on electrical wires. Myelin allows signals to travel quickly, cleanly, with precision. But excess vitamin A can impair the enzymes responsible for maintaining that myelin. It disrupts neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to adapt, to stay sharp, to refine movement. High levels of vitamin E, while intended to protect cells, can interfere with mitochondrial function inside neurons. It slows energy production, weakens the fuel that nerves need to fire quickly, consistently. Imagine trying to send a text, but every letter lags, the screen glitches, the keyboard freezes for half a second. That's what happens at the neuromuscular level when these signals slow. It's not just about muscle contraction. It's about timing. The instant feedback loop between brain, spine, muscle falters, reaction time dulls. Foot placement becomes less precise. Catching yourself during a stumble becomes less reliable. And here's the scariest part. The body doesn't send an alarm. It whispers. A little slower here. a little wobblier there, until one day the stumble becomes a fall. James saw it clearly, once someone finally explained, this wasn't weakness, this wasn't laziness. This wasn't inevitable decline, it was signal interference. A disruption at the microscopic level, caused by something he thought was helping him. Too much vitamin A dulling the nerve's ability to adapt. Too much vitamin E starving the nerve cells of the ATP energy needed to fire on demand. The result? Legs that felt heavy, steps that felt uncertain. But once the interference was removed, once the flood of excessive nutrients was brought back into balance, something remarkable happened. The nervous system woke back up. It wasn't overnight. It wasn't magic. But the fog began to lift. His feet felt quicker, his balance sharper. That strange lag between thought and movement started to shrink. Because the truth is simple. Strength doesn't start in the muscle. It starts in the signal in the brain, the nerves, the spark that tells your body, move now, hold steady, step with confidence. When that spark is clear, the system thrives. When it's muffled, everything suffers. And the good news, once you see it, you can fix it, just like James did. Helen was 73, living in New York, a retired schoolteacher. The kind of person who never skipped a wellness check, never missed her morning walk, and always believed that being proactive was the key to aging well. But after years of faithfully following advice that sounded right, taking high-dose vitamins, antioxidants, and anything labeled anti-aging, her legs started sending a different message, slower, less stable. A quiet sense of hesitation that wasn't there before. She had heard the same messages we all hear. More is better. Load up on vitamins to fight aging. But Helen began to wonder, what if the real answer wasn't about adding more, but choosing smarter? That's when everything shifted. Because while it's true, excess vitamin A and E can dampen the very signals your muscles and nerves depend on, there's also good news. There are nutrients that don't interfere with your body's adaptation signals. Nutrients that actually amplify the communication between brain, nerves, and muscles. And when combined with the right movements, they can dramatically shift how you age, how you move, how you feel. Let's start with the essentials. Vitamin D3 paired with K2. D3 is not just for bones. It plays a direct role in muscle strength, especially in recruiting fast-twitch muscle fibers that are critical for balance, reaction time, and fall prevention. K2 ensures calcium goes where it belongs, into your bones, not into your arteries or soft tissue. Without K2, D3 can accidentally cause calcium to build up in the wrong places. Together, they act like architects of strong, functional tissue. A major analysis published in Osteoporosis International found that older adults with healthy D3 levels had significantly better leg strength, faster reaction times, and reduced fall risk by over 20%. When paired with K2, bone density improved even further. Helen started taking 2,000 IU of D3, combined with 120 micrograms of K2-MK7 with a meal rich in healthy fats. Within weeks, her steps felt lighter, more stable, like the nervous system and muscles were finally speaking the same language again. Next came magnesium threonate. Most people think of magnesium for sleep or cramps. But threonate is different. It crosses the blood-brain barrier, directly impacting synaptic density, the number of connections between brain cells. In a study published in Neuron, older adults supplementing with magnesium threonate showed better working memory, faster reaction time, and improved balance. Helen started with 150 milligrams in the evening. Within days, her sleep improved. Within weeks, her balance drills felt sharper, smoother. The subtle wobbles began to disappear. Then, creatine. Most people assume creatine is for bodybuilders, but research tells a bigger story. Creatine boosts ATP production, the instant energy currency used by both muscles and neurons. In a randomized control trial from the Journal of Gerontology, older adults who supplemented with creatine while doing resistance training gained significantly more lean muscle leg strength and reported faster recovery times. But the surprise: creatine also supports brain energy metabolism, especially during fatigue. That means clearer thinking, better focus, and faster neuromuscular response. Helen added 5 grams a day post-walk stirred into her smoothie. The shift was subtle, then undeniable: faster turns, quicker step corrections, fewer moments of doubt when walking on uneven ground. Then came omega-3s. EPA and DHA aren't just for the heart. They're the structural fats that make nerve membranes fluid, flexible, and fast. Higher DHA levels are directly linked to better muscle quality, stronger grip strength, and improved nerve conduction. A study from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition confirmed it. Older adults with higher DHA had better leg strength and better neuromuscular coordination. Helen added 2,000 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA daily, taken with her lunch. The results: faster reaction time, quieter joints, a sharper sense of, yes, my legs are mine again. And finally, curcumin, the natural compound from turmeric. Unlike synthetic antioxidants that block oxidative signaling, curcumin supports neuromuscular recovery while allowing the right stress signals to trigger adaptation. It's anti-inflammatory, but intelligent. Studies show it reduces muscle soreness, preserves nerve conduction, and protects mitochondria from degenerative damage without muting the growth signal. Helen began with 1,000 milligrams daily, with black pepper extract for absorption. Her stiffness eased, her recovery after long walks improved. But more importantly, her balance became something she could trust again. This isn't magic, it's biology. When the right nutrients meet the right movement, the nervous system thrives. Muscles respond, reaction times sharpen, confidence returns. Because aging isn't about avoiding stress. It's about tuning the system to respond, adapt, and stay strong. Helen felt that difference. And so can you. Daniel had always been active, 67 years old, living in Sydney, a retired firefighter, a man who thrived on movement. But somewhere along the way, his body started whispering a different story: subtle hesitation when standing from a chair, a moment of wobble stepping onto a curb. That creeping sense that his legs, his balance, weren't quite as reliable as they used to be. At first, Daniel assumed the same thing most people do: it's just age, it's just how it goes. But deep down, something didn't sit right. Because even though he adjusted his supplements, balanced his vitamin intake, cut back on the mistakes like high-dose vitamin A and E, something was still missing. It wasn't just about what he was putting in. It was about what he was doing with his body. The truth is simple, but rarely spoken. Movement is medicine. And after 60, the type of movement you do matters more than ever. This isn't about hitting the gym for hours. It's not about running marathons. It's about sending the right message, the right signal to your nervous system every single day. Because your nervous system, your brain, your legs, they don't stay sharp by accident. They stay sharp through practice, through challenge, through stress. The good kind, the kind that tells your body stay awake, stay ready, stay strong. Daniel learned this the day his physiotherapist introduced him to something deceptively simple: balance drills, the act of standing on one foot for 30 seconds, eyes open, then eyes closed. The first time, Daniel laughed. How hard could it be? 10 seconds and his ankle wobbled. 15 seconds, his arms flailed. 20 seconds, he had to step down. And that's when it clicked. His nervous system wasn't weak. It was asleep. Nobody had asked it to stay sharp. Nobody had challenged it in years. From that day on, Daniel committed to 3 simple movements. First, balance drills, standing on one leg, adding in soft surfaces like a pillow, eyes closed, gentle turns of the head, simple but wildly effective. Second, resistance training, twice a week, not bodybuilding, not heavy lifting. Just enough load to tell the muscles and the nerves, this still matters. Squats to a chair, step-ups onto a stable surface, light dumbbells, resistance bands, movements that mimic real life, climbing stairs, getting up, catching balance. Third, agility practice. Yes, agility, even at 67, side steps, light toe taps, mini hops. Practicing the quick reactions that the body uses to prevent falls, to adjust mid-step, to stay stable when the ground isn't perfect. At first, it felt awkward. But within weeks, Daniel noticed something remarkable. His steps felt more confident. His feet reacted faster. That subtle, creeping fear of falling started to fade. And the science backs it up. balance drills increase proprioception, your brain's ability to sense where your body is in space. They literally sharpen the sensory motor loop. Resistance training triggers muscle protein synthesis and strengthens not just muscle, but the neural drive to those muscles. Agility drills improve reaction time, forcing the nervous system to stay alert, responsive, adaptive. But here's the key. It's not about doing these things perfectly. It's about doing them consistently. 5 minutes of balance in the morning, 20 minutes of resistance twice a week, small doses, regular signals. Because the nervous system, like a language, fades when you stop using it, but it also returns when you start speaking it again. Daniel didn't just get stronger. He didn't just get steadier. He got his confidence back. That quiet knowing that his legs, his balance, his stability were something he could trust, not because he hoped they'd stay strong, but because every day he was teaching them how, and that's the magic. Movement is the most powerful message your body understands. Patricia, 70 years old, living in London, had always been organized, meticulous, and thoughtful when it came to her health. Her supplement cabinet was a carefully arranged lineup of capsules, soft gels, powders, all with labels promising energy, strength, longevity. But something still wasn't right. She had already corrected the obvious mistakes. Lowered her vitamin E, switched her vitamin A to safer forms, added magnesium, D3, K2, omega-3s, and creatine. Her movement routine was consistent, and yet, the creeping instability, the occasional wobble, the quiet hesitation when stepping off a curb was still there. That's when her nutritionist said something she'd never considered before. It's not just what you take, it's when you take it. Patricia had never thought about that. Because just like the body responds to stress, to signals, it also responds to timing. And that single shift changed everything. Here, what most people don't realize. Nutrients aren't static. They don't just sit in your system waiting to be used. They interact dynamically with your circadian rhythm, your hormones, your energy production, your nervous system's readiness. Get the timing wrong, and even the right supplements can underperform or worse, cause interference. Patricia's first mistake, taking antioxidants right before exercise. It sounds logical, right? Protect the body from stress. But the reality is the opposite. When you load antioxidants like vitamin C, E, or even curcumin before a workout, you blunt the very oxidative signal your muscles and nervous system rely on to adapt to grow and get stronger. So the fix, simple, avoid antioxidants, at least 3 to 4 hours before and after training. Let the stress signal do its job. Only after that window, bring in recovery support. Her second mistake, taking magnesium in the morning. Magnesium threonate, while amazing for synaptic density, works best when paired with the body's natural wind-down process. In the evening, when the brain shifts toward parasympathetic mode, rest, repair, recovery. Switching magnesium to after dinner dramatically improved her sleep quality, reaction time, and even her balance the next day. Then, vitamin D3 and K2. Patricia had been taking them at night. But vitamin D is a sunshine hormone. Its signaling pathways align with daylight. Taking it in the evening can confuse the circadian rhythm, disrupt sleep, and reduce its effectiveness. So, D3 and K2 move to breakfast with healthy fats, where they naturally support daytime energy, muscle function, and bone signaling. Creatine, another surprise. Many assume creatine must be taken around workouts. But research shows it's less about exact timing and more about consistency. However, when paired with carbs like a post-walk smoothie or lunch, absorption improves, and the benefits to both muscle and brain become more noticeable. Omega-3s taken with the largest meal of the day. Why? Because DHA and EPA are fat-based molecules. Their absorption skyrockets when paired with dietary fats. Patricia had been taking them first thing in the morning with just coffee. The result? Poor absorption. Less impact. Shifting them to lunch or dinner unlocked the full benefit. And curcumin, not in the morning, not at night. But strategically, after physical stress, like an afternoon walk or a balance session. That's when inflammation rises naturally, and curcumin can help manage it without interfering with growth signals. These timing shifts sound small, but for Patricia, they weren't small at all. Within 2 weeks, her steps felt more grounded. The slight lag in her nervous system, the hesitation that haunted her when turning quickly, started to dissolve. Because the body doesn't just ask, "What are you giving me?" It also asks, when every supplement, every nutrient, every signal interacts with time, with light, with movement, with sleep. And when those pieces align, something remarkable happens. Strength returns, balance sharpens, the nervous system stops whispering and starts responding. Patricia felt it, her posture lifted, her gait smoothed. The quiet, subtle anxiety that follows every misstep began to fade, because timing isn't a bonus, it's the key that unlocks everything else. Take a moment and look down at your legs. These aren't just muscles, they aren't just bones, they aren't just tools for walking, standing, moving. They are your freedom. They are the foundation of your independence, your confidence, your ability to live life on your terms. And the truth is, for too long, the conversation about aging, about strength, about mobility has been missing something. It's not just about working harder. It's not just about doing more. It's not even just about nutrition. It's about understanding the language your body speaks, the signals it listens to, the balance it constantly seeks between stress and recovery, between challenge and support. Because your body is not fragile, it's responsive, it's adaptive, even now. Even in your 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond, when you remove the noise, the interference from excessive vitamins that blunt the nervous system, when you restore clarity to the signals between your brain and your muscles, when you pair the right nutrients, with the right timing, with the right movement, something incredible happens. Your legs get stronger, your balance improves, your confidence returns, not because you're fighting aging, but because you're working with the very systems designed to keep you moving, designed to keep you capable, designed to help you thrive. Aging isn't the enemy, stagnation is. Disconnection between your brain, your nerves, your muscles is what steals strength, but connection is what restores it. Think back to George, to Linda, to Michael, to Robert, to Susan, to James, to Helen, to Daniel, to Patricia. Every single one of them believed, for a while, that decline was inevitable. That the stumbles, the slower reactions, the subtle weakening of their legs was just part of getting older, until it wasn't, until they saw that it wasn't inevitable, it was optional. Because when they changed their inputs, when they shifted their habits, when they began sending the right signals, their bodies responded, not perfectly, not instantly, but reliably, step by step, day by day, because strength isn't something you lose, it's something you either nurture or neglect. And the most powerful truth of all, it's never too late to start nurturing it again. The moment you choose to honor your body's design, to feed it with clarity, not confusion, to challenge it with movement, not protect it with avoidance, to support it with nutrients that enhance, not dull its signals, that's the moment everything shifts. Your legs, your balance, your posture, your power, it all comes back online. Because strong legs don't just carry you through the world. They carry your life, your independence, your dignity, your freedom to show up for the people you love, to go where you want to go, to do what you want to do. And that is worth protecting. So as you stand up today, as you take your next step, remember this: your body is listening. It always has been, and now you know how to speak its language. Strong legs, strong life always.